Hi, I'm Amy Salling. I'm head of school here at Waimea Country School. Thank you for tuning in. The purpose of this video is to give you some information on the updates that we've made to our homework policy here at Waimea Country School. A little over a year ago, we spent some time doing some research in how homework affects achievement in the elementary age student. What we found was that overwhelmingly there was evidence that there is no type of homework, amount of homework, or subject area in homework that improves learning, development, joy in learning, or achievement in elementary age kids. That had a big impact on us. So what we did is we changed our policy and we really focused on what we found does work, and that's reading. You've heard us talk a lot over the last year about the importance of reading in all grades here at Country School, and we're going to continue to emphasize that. So just to reiterate some of the changes that we made and the reasons for them, we want to make sure that there is time for our children to be children outside of school. If they're laden with homework after school, they may not have the time to go outside and explore and hang out with friends or younger siblings or older siblings. They may not have the time to build a fort and play with the dog, do their chores at home, that kind of thing. And we want to make sure that they have that time. We also don't want to have a negative impact on your family. One of our jobs is to make sure that this is a place where children love to learn. And if they go home and you spend time being the homework cop with them and really having stressful interactions with your child over trying to get them to get their homework done, that's really counter to our purpose here. Now, all that said, one of our jobs over a 6-year span is to prepare our students for middle school. So one of the things that we need to do is to make sure that as they continue through the 6 years, we are slowly working them up so they have the skills needed to be successful in middle school. At the end of the year, after implementing these changes, I put a survey out and we had 21 of our families respond. And I'm very pleased to say that it was overwhelmingly positive. They felt like the changes to the policy had a really positive impact on their families, and I was very happy to see that. There was some concern about what happens next. What happens if my child goes into a more traditional environment where they are going to be getting, a stack of worksheets to do for homework, or they have projects to do, and how are they going to handle that? So one of our jobs is to make sure that we're finding that balance and we're not just teaching into a bubble here. We want to make sure that our students, when they leave, are well aware of how to approach work, how to use the skills that they've learned to be successful no matter where they go to school. So you might think to yourself, what is middle school readiness? Well, this is what we are hearing from the local middle schools and the teachers there, and also looking at as our children have transitioned into middle schools and checking back in with those families and thinking about what it is they need. We know that they need to be self-reliant. They need to have self-confidence and knowing how to learn and how to approach their work. They need to have time management and organization skills so they're able to be successful. We also know that they need to have an understanding that the work that they do matters. And when they don't turn it in, or if they turn it in incomplete, that's going to have a bigger impact than just to them personally, but it's actually going to go into maybe a grading system and things like that. Now, in order to get to those goals, we don't need to bring that middle school model down into our school. We can approach those objectives in other ways. Let me tell you how we're going to do it. The main goal with reading is so reading is not a chore. So if you're reading with your child, make sure that you're engaging in a very positive way. If they're making mistakes and the reading is clearly too hard for them, instead of stopping and correcting every word or helping them with decoding, why don't you take a turn and read to them? Or switch to a book that they're more familiar and comfortable with so they can really show off their reading ability. Mostly what we want you to do is engage in a very positive way and not make reading a chore. So last year, in addition to reading, which I'm emphasizing quite a bit, I know, we also had different ways that we provided opportunities for students, and we gave them lots of choices. Sometimes it was optional. Sometimes we would give them a menu of choices and say, you need to do 1 or 2 or 3 of these this week. And what we found was that really wasn't very effective. In other words, when we had the desire to give students choice, our meaning behind that was to really give them the opportunity to be motivated and choose things that they were excited about and have different methods of practicing some of the content in class and so on. But what we found was a lot of times students would do things at the last minute, and it didn't really build the motivation and interest and creativity that we really wanted. So in looking back again over the surveys and thinking about what really is effective, what we want to do is make sure that we are looking at each child and thinking about what works best for them. So we're going to start something new this year. It's called target practice. Target practice is really kind of at the heart of what we do across the board in our multi-age child-centered environment. In the first couple of weeks of school, we'll be looking at the skill base of each student. We'll be talking to students about what's important to them. And then when we meet for conferences in early September, we're going to be talking with parents too about what their desires are. Now, if your child, for example, has messy handwriting, they've never really figured it out, and they really need that extra practice with handwriting, that could be target practice for them. It might be that they really need some extra practice with sight words. Maybe we're going to give them some sight word flashcards as target practice. So we'll talk a lot more about this, and you'll talk with your child's classroom teacher about this. But just in general, what we're going to do instead of the choice menus is we're going to make more specific choices in conjunction with you and your child about how to best prepare them and make that homework time effective. So one of the things that we're going to do when we look at middle school readiness over a 6-year span is we're going to scaffold the way we implement skills and the way we ramp up accountability and responsibility with children. So when they do head off to middle school, they've got 6 years under their belt of that understanding and that practice and that with those skills. In the Ohi'a K First multi-age, of course, reading is the most important. With children who are on the brink of learning to read, engaging with books is very important. Please sit down and read with your child every day. In addition, the teachers in the Ohi'a class will assign no more than 10 minutes a night, Monday through Thursday. And when I say that, no more than, that doesn't mean it'll be 10 minutes every single night, 4 days a week. That means that would be a maximum, and it might be once or twice a week. And the things that they're going to be getting students to do, they will be potentially target practice, which for a kindergarten and first grade student might be, will most likely be sight word practice, because reading really is the key skill for the K First multi-age. But there may be other things. There may be a math game that we're playing that we are going to send home and have your child play with you, things like that. But we don't want to get into this idea of piling homework sheets on 5 and 6 year olds. That's just not our intent. The other thing is we will give children the option, because we know some kids like it. They want to do a worksheet and feel like a big kid. So that's fine, and your child may have that. Now, everything that the children do will come back and will be given feedback on, and they'll understand that what they're doing is important and it matters. In addition, the teachers will make sure that they're checking in every day about their reading and doing some just quick check. What were you reading last night? How's reading going? Tell me about some of the good books you found, and so on. So there is some accountability. It won't just be read, and that's the end of it. All right, so in Koai'a class, our job is to step that up a little bit from our K First. So with our second and third graders, we're going to continue, of course, to emphasize reading. And the teachers in this class will be doing something called status of the class. We'll explain this more in detail at curriculum night, but instead of a reading log where they're logging the number of minutes, which is really not as valuable as what they're reading and how they're doing and the types of books they're reading, the teachers will independently check in with each individual student and kind of check in to find out what they're reading, how it's going, are they ready to do a book project or a book talk, that kind of thing. So that will be happening in class, and part of that is sending those students a message that when we ask them to read, we expect them to read, and it really does matter because we're paying attention. Accountability is a big piece that we're building over these 6 years. So in Koai'a, in addition to the reading piece, again, we're putting a time frame on it of no more than 20 to 30 minutes Monday through Thursday. Now that does not mean that every single night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, your second or third grade child will be getting 30 minutes of homework a night. That is the maximum that we would expect any student to be working on in the second, third. Now that work may be target practice, like we talked about. It might be, again, a math game or some math problems that relate to some of the units we've been doing. It might be sight word practice because it might be reading a passage to prepare for a science experiment we're doing later in the week, that kind of thing. So it's, again, again, we will also make some options available if children want to take home some extra practice and extra work of their own. And then we'll make sure that we're having that come back in, we're checking it off, we're giving them feedback on that, and we're moving forward. So again, we are building up the accountability piece. So when students move into the 4-5 multi-age class, the Koai'a class, we have 2 years to really sock in those readiness skills before they head to middle school. So we up the accountability and the workload a little bit more. Again, reading. We expect all of the students to read. The teachers will do the status of the class, and again, we'll explain that at curriculum night. But basically what we're doing is tracking their independent reading to make sure that they are reading and they know that we know they're reading. So when we assign them reading, we're following up to make sure they're actually doing that reading. In addition, students in that class will have no more than 30 to 40 minutes Monday through Thursday. And unlike the Koai'a class, they will likely have at least something to do every night, Monday through Thursday. That may be target practice. We also implement packets in language with Greek and Latin and with reading comprehension. And the packet system in the Koai'a class is really designed at that understanding yourself and doing some time management and planning. So students on a Monday will plan out, thinking about their week, plan out the assignments they're going to be turning in, and knowing that they have all this work to do and how to break that up. So we know that those are really vital skills for understanding how they work and what they need, and because that's going to come into play in middle school. And then that work is going to be checked. So even if it's something online, like Koai'a students are assigned to go on and do 10 minutes of Khan Academy, the teachers will be checking the next morning to see that they've done that. Now, one of the things that we're going to be doing new this year is we're going to hold students accountable and report on whether they're getting their homework in on time or not. And we will report that to them and to parents to make sure that they're understanding that it's not optional, they can't just do it if they want. The expectation is there that they do it, and if they aren't doing it, then we can step in and help them figure out where the breakdown is and make sure they understand that it's important that they do follow through. And hopefully through all these 6 years, we will translate those skills into what the students need to be successful in middle school without taking out the joy of learning, because that's really what our heart is. We want to make sure that Waimea Country School stays the place where children love to learn. So I want to thank all of our families for staying engaged with us, and a special shout out to our 21 families who were able to give us some feedback, very positive and critical and important feedback through the survey at the end of the year. But please know that my door is certainly always open, and I strongly urge you to communicate with your child's teacher about homework. Again, our goal is to not have situations arise at home where there's battles going on. If you feel like your child is not making progress and you feel like homework is playing into that, or not enough homework or too much homework, please make sure that you're communicating that with us. So our goal is really to make it successful for your family and for your children, to make sure that we're working together to do everything we can to have them succeed. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you often here at school. Feel free to reach out anytime. My door is always open. Aloha.